I haven't even done it live to Facebook yet. So definitely want to try that out.
Okay.
Okay. All right. It's loading now. Okay. Let's see. And we are live, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, I
Hey.
have my echo. Welcome to I Am Karina TV. And I have a special, special guest, my friend Saradin, who is here. We have a cute topic. We're going to dive into sexuality, Mars, Venus, relationships, and most specifically, Tantra. So, we're going to have a free flow conversation here with you guys. And if you're watching the replay, I'll put the timestamps down at the bottom so that you can click through to your favorite parts and topics. Okay. So let's begin. Saradin, welcome so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, Karina. So good to finally do this.
Yes. So just to let people know, we are friends. We met actually at Nicholas Bookstore, and that's where we first met. And we were both providing, healing services in Nicholas.
At
And
the healing circle.
that's right, at the Healing
Hmm.
Circle,
Hmm.
Tuesday nights, I believe. So,
Yep.
and the bookstore is actually still up and going, but it's now in Crown Heights. So you guys can check
Hmm.
out Nicholas Bookstore if you're in Brooklyn. And we've just maintained a connection and watching each other move through our passions. So could you tell everyone who's watching, what is your passion? What are things that you love to do? How do you like to service and all of those great things?
Oh my goodness. Passions. I don't think I have just one. Um, I grew up in a household full of music and like artistic stuff. My dad played guitar a lot around me. And I've always just been like really interested in learning things and information. That's a big Sag thing, right? So,
Yes.
with that, and also just kind of like I've always had like this thing where if I felt that someone needed help or like, needed, I don't want to say comforting necessarily, but even if it meant that, like I was always very sensitive to other people's energies and needs. And so as I got older, trying to figure out my shit and going along my journey, that's when I started getting into like a energy work. So when I was at the healing circle, like Karina mentioned, I was giving Reiki sessions to folks there because I had experienced energy from another human being, experiencing the subtle energy shifts, um, and wanted to be a part of that and wanted to learn more. So like my passions kind of all interconnect, and combined with my studies about like health and child development and just I have a lot of passion. So if that answers your question.
Amazing. That's awesome. Would you tell people, especially due to your passion with healing and child development, would you mind sharing your like rising sign, your moon sign, or
um
or maybe one or the other?
let's see. Well, how about
Or
this? I'll
mhm.
I'll definitely say my rising is Taurus, which I can understand how or that would make sense, because that's very earth energy and perfect strangers or even like children. As I've been working in childcare for a long time, when I would go to pick up other students at school, the children would come up to me and just hug me. Like I'd never seen them in my life. I
Mhm.
didn't know who they, but they would just come. They would just like come to me. Um,
Yeah, that Taurus security, that inner
Yeah.
warmth, the
Mm-hmm.
groundedness. Exactly.
Yeah.
And beauty, of course.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure.
So, one of the things that I know that you do, and I was very interested in it, still am, is working with Tantra and working with, is it like intimacy? And I just would like for anybody who has never heard of it before, would you be
Hmm.
able to break it down simply for us?
Okay, so the buzzword or the popular word, the word tantra has become more popular. It's a Sanskrit word, which means to weave. Depending on who you talk to, is different things that you're weaving. For some, they'll say to weave light and sound together. Um, for me, I've kind of what I've understanding is that, but also weaving the whether it's masculine and feminine energy within yourself, or if it's even weaving your shadow side and what we would consider our light side together, kind of integrating both of those things. And so, in our society, Western society, and colonialism and all of that is just kind of like you were talking about the other day, is the separation. So we feel like we're separate from God, or we feel like we're separate from our partner, or even in our bodies, like, we tend to kind of, everything is from the neck up, whether it's just, okay, spirituality is just prayer, or if we're constantly uh, living in our head, whether that's just positive or negative thoughts. But the idea is that you're not um, living through your physical body, which is something I'm still working on. We're disconnected from our own senses, our own feelings. And so for people who are studying or getting involved with Tantra, it's a way to, with that weaving, to connect everything. So there is no separation between sex and spiritual experiences. If you regard it in that way, instead of saying, oh, well, sex is this dirty, filthy thing, or, you'll be shunned for doing it, you're getting in touch with your highest self, you're getting in touch with God, creative energy, whether you're making a baby or you're just, experiencing pleasure through your body. So was that clear, or do I need to go further?
Absolutely. I think it really gives an idea of the core of where it all comes from, which
Mm-hmm.
is it basically like, energy exchange, auras combining, or seeing ourselves from a cellular level, maybe even a cosmic
Mm-hmm.
level. Do
Mm-hmm.
they use astrology, and do you use astrology in Tantra?
So what I've experienced, or there are some people, before I go into that, I also want to just say that there are different cultures that have a sacred sexuality. Tantra can be found in parts of India or Tibet. So I just want to make that distinction. But, there are in what parts of Africa and in indigenous American cultures, they have their own uh, idea of what sacred sexuality is. Um, as far as astrology, for me, this is a conversation we can have later. But someone did a Bagua astrology year planning chart for me.
Yes.
And so it's interesting because right now I'm in my Mars cycle.
Hmm.
So everything is about like action and go, 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 go. So I guess in that way, with the way that my year was kind of planned out, you're able to just kind of go through. And so technically right now I'm really not supposed to be having a whole lot of sex. It says, refrain from overeating and sexual too much sexing so that you can like contain all of that fiery
That
energy to
creativity.
kind of like, you know, pursue whatever your goals are.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people who, actually one of the co-founders of Black Tantra group, there's a group that I'm a part of. Her name is Riziki Zafira. She actually looks at it from sidereal astrological perspective and like her work and how she works with her clients. So,
Yeah.
you know, you definitely can combine it.
Yeah, absolutely. I could see the sidereal working with the fixed stars and this, it's just so much more elaborate.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really cool. So what is it like if you like walk into like a group session or a like a couple session? I'm asking for a friend.
You're at oh, okay. Is this a mutual friend that we both have? I'm kidding. Um, you know, here's what I'll say. In my experience, particularly, you know, now that Black Tantra Group has kind of been doing some things for the past couple of years, a lot of people come to me and they're like, oh, is that Kama Sutra? Or like I've literally had people come in the inbox and think that, you know, we're ultimately planning like this big sex orgy. I mean, you can combine those two things, but that's not what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I know for me, when I first started doing you know, walking in these circles and going to events, I would see women just in the throes of passion and having these orgasms and like, you know, screaming, I don't, you know, and seizing, and like their bodies are just full of, and I'm like, whoa, what's happening here? You know?
Wow.
And I I think the very first time I saw it, I was like, ooh, they playing. That's a show. This is all a show,
Mm-hmm.
until it happened to me.
Mm-hmm. Then it got real.
And then I'm, you know, and I had been in it for a while, but then I was like, oh, okay, this ain't a game. You know, this is not some, you know, where that everyone's in on the joke. No, this is really, really real. And it wasn't any kind of like, ooh, you know, like magical, nothing. It was just very simple. The person that I was working with just really took his time to connect with me and my body, and some shit moved.
Mm-hmm.
um you know, but a lot of people report just kind of feeling closer, this sense of closeness, or sometimes I've even with the right partner, my body will just kind of naturally, like that magnetism will come out. And I've literally had my hips like mashed together with somebody else's.
Wow.
And I'm not like trying to like, that literally just I'm like, oh, okay. Because you get to a point where, and I think that's the other part that I mentioned, it's kind of like this stripping away of like all your bullshit, all of your, you know, you get down to like the core essence of who you are as an individual. So you, I mean, yeah, you know, our body is beautiful and everything, but you really get to experience that person's energy for what it is. And if it's for you, if it's good for you, if there's like that magnetism or a connection, you'll know. You'll know.
That's really beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I just really love the idea of really just combining sexuality and spirituality. I mean, it's almost silly when I say the idea of it because it feels like fact and truth to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I just feel like there's a lot still in society that casually just doesn't honor the exchange of energy. And when we talk in terms of tantra, it's taking it all the way in understanding those concepts. So I just think it's really beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to move more into Mars and Venus and talking about astrology,
Mm-hmm.
um, understanding that Mars can be considered also a sexual sign, sexual planet. It's not considered, it is the sexual planet, and it's ruling over the adrenalines and the blood, and which
Mhm.
is very primal, Mars. And then we have Venus, which is relationships and love superficially, and just all of that, beautiful aesthetic that Venus brings, right?
Mhm.
So, anything that you would like to elaborate, talk about when it comes to these planets in your chart and other people's charts, or observations or anything?
Um, I can really just speak from my chart. I wish I had kind of, which is an exercise for me to go down and think about my partners and what their Mars and Venus
Yep.
are. But once I really gained more of an understanding of astrology, because I think you were the first person that I heard say that we're all the signs. So I'm like, oh, I'm a Sag. Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
I got a chance to look at my Mars and my Venus. I even went to a whole workshop, and my Mars is in Aries and my
Okay.
Venus is in Scorpio. And what I really began to notice, when they say like Mars is this, the warrior and the fiery energy, my shit is in Aries. So, like for the whole time I've felt bad even, or even wondered like, is there something wrong with me? Like, I'm gonna keep it a buck. Like sometimes my libido is out of control. Where it's frustrating, especially like if in the past, I'll be honest, I've had partners who are like, you talk about sex too much, or all you want to do is have sex, all you want to do is fuck, or
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready to keep going.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, it's we're gonna call it a night. I'm like, but um
Absolutely. You would be considered what I call grouping in fire women. And there are many ways that fire women express themselves. And a lot of the times they are more angrier, more assertive, more independent, but you can also transmute that and just be sexually driven. And it's just Mars. It's that primal energy of like pushing out, are we fucking or fighting? Basically. So
exactly,
that's it. Yeah.
and then even with like my even taking away sex, but also just how I go about engaging in these relationships. I would say there's definitely a lot more like I'm gonna go and just get what I want, or I like
Mm-hmm.
this is, and not really taking as much time as I should to
Yeah.
really kind of sit and think about like, okay, is this a good idea?
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of going with the like that primal instinct, just like, okay, I feel it, acting, I feel it, okay, here,
Yeah. It's the
so
impulse. It's all impulsive in this sign,
mhm.
in this placement. Mm-hmm.
So I imagine, I realizing like, oh, that's where a couple of these poor decisions came from, because you're just moving. You're just like, oh, I like that. Let me do this. Let me go. Oop, let me, oop.
Yeah.
Um, and then for like Venus, and particularly in Scorpio, everyone thinks like, oh, you're a freak, Scorpio. Like the way that my relationships have unfolded, from a psychological or psyche standpoint, incredibly deep, emotional. Um, it's kind of hard to describe. I just know that I've felt the most in particularly in romantic relationships. It's just kind of like if you were to like strip down to the nerves, like if you were to cut open your flesh down to it's just kind of like I'm trying my best to describe the intensity
Yeah.
of what I've experienced, particularly if I'm with someone who, well, everyone is your teacher, so there's
Mm-hmm.
that. But there are more lessons that have, particularly recently, especially because I'm coming out of my Saturn return, so that's a big ass kicker for sure.
Yes, it is.
um but it you at least for me, Venus and Scorpio, I've had an opportunity to really see like, okay, how are the relationships that I find myself in reflective of how I really feel about myself, or how I feel I'm supposed to show up in the world, or what is it that I'm been longing for a long time, way before I wanted a romantic relationship. Like, how far back am I seeing my father in this person? Am I, seeing my mother or mother like qualities in this person? And that's why we ended up together.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's the dark night of the soul wherever you find Plutonian or Scorpio placements. And especially for Venus, because Venus is considered not happy here in classical astrology, because her ruling energy is the opposite sign, right? So I don't go too big on detriment and falls, but I'll say that Venus is not as great. She doesn't work as great when she has to go deep. So in a sign like Scorpio, where we want to just have this pleasure, Scorpio wants to go down and understand the pleasures, understand the toxicity of the pleasures, understand why we are attracted to each other on a very deep, core level. And so Venus in Scorpio is beautiful because of the responsibility of remembering that things like sexuality is sacred, that people have trust issues, that people, because Scorpio's trust energy, and like in the eighth house, that's where we go to learn trust, right? And if you have and trust on a level of interrelationships, but also trust on a level of monetary language, in the sense of, if you are having that ability to have complete trust and confidence, where does complete trust and confidence happen? And I think when we look at Scorpio, this is how we discover how to have true confidence, is by looking into the dark, looking into the deep. So Venus, where she wants to fake confidence, just fake it till you make it, just look cute and hide your tears. In Scorpio, it's not going to play out that way. And she's like, no.
Are you reading me on YouTube right now, Karina? Like, as you're talking, I'm like,
That placement is such an intense placement. And you know what? Most Scorpio placements are, right? It's like the word for Scorpios to say that it's intense. But when it comes to the sexual aspect, I mean, this is something that I want to elaborate on maybe in another video, but the way that the signs have sex, because a lot of people are like, what's the best zodiac sign that you've ever had sex with? But from my perspective, and this is, I have Karina TV, so I'm allowed to have my perspective, that society kind of controls what you see as sexual. So a person wouldn't understand what Gemini sex is if they only value intense, genital laboring Mars and Scorpio energy, basically, because Scorpio is just going to attack your pelvis, basically. And give you every single pleasure, and own you, and take out those darker parts of you, because in life we want to be like, no, I'm free, but in the bedroom you want to feel that domination, submission, that ownership kind of thing. So that's all Scorpio energy. But when we look at all of the signs, they all have a distinct way in which they express their sexuality. And I just feel like, why don't we break that down one day and understand that it's not just a Martian thing, even though Mars is the ruling planet of sex. When Mars goes through the entire zodiac, he's exploring all different ways in which he could enjoy his sex. So I think we should like give every single zodiac sign like their just due, in a breakdown of how each zodiac sign like is a master of sex.
Okay, I did that, because just like, not, each individual is not the same, it's expressed in different ways. I'm really excited to, kind of explore that and see how it shows up.
Yeah, we could definitely do that. And just you can take, your knowledge of astrology, but yeah, go with your knowledge of the people and the experiences that you've had with people. And anyone who's watching the live, I see you guys commenting below. We are just now finishing, and next time I'm going to make sure that I hit the comments. I'm sorry, guys. I'm a little nervous doing Zoom and making sure everything works. But thank you for commenting and being here. Yeah, in the next one, we can break down the signs. We could talk more about sexuality, spirituality. I'd love to ask you questions on some of the trending things that has been happening. So maybe we can
Okay,
do some of that, and we'll talk more.
cool. This was awesome.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for joining me today. And maybe we got to call the series something so that we can have part one, part two. We'll think about it,
Hmm.
brainstorm. If you guys
Okay.
have any ideas, drop it in the comments what we can call this series, and we can dive more into sexuality, spirituality, and astrology.
Were
Thank
there
you
any
so much.
questions, Karina?
There were. I just want to make sure your time is okay.
Okay, we can
Okay.
do a few.
Okay, we can do a few. Okay, let's see.
Hmm.
Let's
My
start from the
best.
beginning. Wholeness, hello, welcome. Goddess Essence Energy, Wanda Wisdom, 305 Capricorn, welcome. Okay. We have some statements about sex creating soul ties. Let's see. Any.
That's another conversation I'd like to delve into at another
Mm-hmm.
time, though.
Mm-hmm.
I need more time to kind of flesh that out.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
And let's see. Let's see. Yeah, not too many questions, but a lot of
Okay,
great statements, comments.
cool.
Um, Yep, yep. Wanda Wisdom is breaking it down in the comments, y'all. So thank you so much. So thank you guys for being here today. We are gonna we're gonna end our first episode, and we'll see you in the next live. Peace and love.
Take care.